Chosen ones. Isn't it wild how the younger you look, the more they think they can play you? Society often equates youthfulness with inexperience and calmness with weakness. That serene, unbothered presence you carry, some people assume it means you're naive, easily influenced, or ripe for manipulation. But here's the thing, they're not just wrong, they're wildly off, because what they're underestimating isn't your appearance, it's your anointing. The chosen ones walk with an ageless light, a glow that isn't born from skincare routines or diets. It's born from spiritual resilience, divine favor, and surviving storms that would have buried most people. That youthful glow is not about vanity. It's evidence that God has preserved you for something greater. There's a biological and spiritual truth behind this. Scientifically, people who live with purpose, practice forgiveness, and stay spiritually aligned often show lower levels of stress hormones like cortisol. Chronic stress ages the body, wrinkling the skin, weakening the immune system, and shortening lifespans. But those who walk with God, those who release bitterness, practice stillness, and live by truth, tend to radiate peace. Peace is anti-aging. The Bible even says in Isaiah 40:31, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength." That's not just poetic, that's divine rejuvenation. Renewal is part of your calling. So while others are aging from chasing validation, the chosen ones are being renewed by divine connection. And let's talk spiritually. Looking young, staying quiet, and being underestimated is part of God's camouflage. It's not a curse, it's cover. The enemy always looks for the loud, the flashy, and the proud. But the chosen ones? We move in silence. We're wrapped in innocence, not ignorance. The enemy sees a harmless lamb, until the roar of the Lion of Judah echoes from within us. That's why people often regret underestimating you, because when you speak, wisdom flows. When you act, things shift. And when you pray, spiritual realms tremble. You're not soft. You're strategic. You're not too nice. You're divinely protected and deeply rooted. Take the story of the woman I mentioned earlier. Her youthfulness wasn't just a feature, it was a weapon of misdirection. She was battle-tested, faith-forged, and soul-deep in wisdom, but people only saw the surface. They called her too gentle. But her gentleness was strength under control. She wasn't loud, but her silence carried truth. She didn't argue, because when you carry God's presence, you don't need to prove anything. And one by one, the same people who mocked her came back, broken, confused, seeking her clarity. Because she didn't just survive, she transformed. And that transformation wasn't visible on the outside, it was encoded in her spirit. So if people write you off because you don't look intimidating, let them. That's part of the setup. That's how God gets glory, by using the underestimated to overturn expectations. Your glow, it's not cute, it's spiritual warfare in disguise. That's why they stare. That's why they gossip. That's why they try to test you. But remember, your stillness isn't weakness. Your glow isn't immaturity. It's divine evidence that you've been through fire and came out radiant. The next time someone underestimates you, smile, because they have no idea what kind of warrior God wrapped inside that calm exterior. Point 1, your youthful appearance is a spiritual signature. Chosen ones. Let's be real. Some folks are scratching their heads, secretly zooming in on your pictures, wondering what serum you use, what eye cream you slather on, or what filter you're hiding behind. But you know what they'll never understand? Your glow is not from Sephora. It's not bottled, branded, or boosted by some influencer's affiliate link. Your glow is spiritual. Your aura radiates at a different frequency. And that's not something the world can replicate. This isn't just poetic fluff, it's actually scientific. Everything in the universe has a vibrational frequency, including your body. The human body, when healthy and spiritually aligned, vibrates at around 62 to 72 megahertz. Disease starts creeping in when that frequency drops. Now get this, emotions affect your frequency. Gratitude, joy, and forgiveness raise it. Bitterness, anger, gossip, and fear, they drag it down like spiritual gravity. But you, chosen one, you learn the sacred art of staying light. You don't hold on to hate. You drop grudges like dead weight. You heal fast. You pray instead of plot. That's divine frequency maintenance, and baby, it shows. Look at your skin. It's not just smooth, it's serene. Look at your eyes. They're not just bright. They see through lies. Look at your walk. It's not just confident. It's anchored in purpose. This isn't about age-defying products, it's about energy-defying darkness. God preserves his messengers, not because they ask for vanity, but because their mission requires visibility. You're not just glowing, you're glowing for God. People say, well, you don't look your age, but they don't know you've been through storms that would have aged most people 10 years in a week. They don't know you've walked through betrayal, abandonment, and spiritual warfare and came out not looking like what you've been through. That's not skin care, that's soul care. That's what happens when you stay plugged into the source. When the world says fall apart and you say, I will praise instead. When you meditate instead of retaliate. When you rest instead of seeking revenge. That kind of spiritual hygiene keeps your inner world so clean, your outer world follows suit. Let's not forget, stress is one of the biggest accelerators of aging. Cortisol, the stress hormone, wreaks havoc on your skin, sleep, weight, and even your organs. Chronic stress literally makes people look older. But you learned how to cast your cares on something bigger than yourself. You don't hold stress, you surrender it. That's not just spiritual advice, that's an anti-aging strategy. You're living proof that a peaceful spirit reflects in physical form. But let's talk deeper. Your youthful aura is also God's strategy. The enemy thought the years of pain would wear you down, break you, make you bitter, leave you looking tired and forgotten, but instead, you look newer, you look refreshed, you look like you just got started. Why? Because chosen ones don't age like the rest of the world. You don't just exist, you ascend. While others wrinkle from stress, you get wiser from silence. While they age from war in their spirit, you evolve through your worship. They're surviving, you're transforming. You know what's wild? People will gossip about how suspiciously good you look. They'll swear you must be doing something shady. They can't fathom that joy, forgiveness, and peace are the real skincare routine. But the truth is, when you carry light, you don't just enter a room, you change it. And when your soul is clean, your face doesn't just shine, it glows with purpose. So keep glowing, chosen one. Let them wonder, let them question, because what they see is not just good genes. It's divine preservation. It's proof that God takes care of his own. And as long as you keep your frequency high, your faith alive, and your peace protected, you'll never age like the world. You'll age like a prophecy unfolding, one glow at a time. Point 2, people mistake your glow for gullibility. Let's be real, when you look sweet, soft-spoken, and youthful, people assume they've got you figured out in 2 seconds flat. They see someone polite, someone gentle, someone who doesn't bark back, and in their minds that means easy to manipulate. But here's what they don't realize. That softness, that glow, that calm demeanor, it's not weakness, it's wisdom wrapped in velvet. You're not naive, you're strategic, you're not new to this, you're battle-tested. And the innocence they think they're seeing, that's just the tip of a spiritual iceberg. Chosen ones. You didn't just wake up like this. You've been through fires that would have scorched the average soul. You've walked through betrayal, abandonment, and sabotage, and still managed to keep your spirit intact. People don't understand how someone who looks so serene can carry so much power, but what they're really seeing is divine resilience, that glow they envy. It's not skincare, it's spiritual warfare. It's the radiance that comes from healing what was sent to destroy you. And they'll never know how many nights you cried yourself into strength. So when someone tries to run game on you, they're stepping into a field they're not equipped to survive in. Psychologically, this whole dynamic is rooted in what's called perceived social vulnerability. When someone looks young or speaks gently, society unconsciously categorizes them as less assertive or more compliant. It's a snap judgment based on what's called the halo effect, a cognitive bias where one positive trait, like looking youthful or soft, makes people assume you have other unrelated traits, like being submissive or easy to fool. But chosen ones, you break that bias. Because while you may have the face of an angel, you carry the instincts of a lion, and that's why people don't see you coming. They thought you'd fall for the same manipulation that works on others, gaslighting, guilt trips, flattery, passive aggression. But instead you clock the pattern instantly. You don't even flinch. You've already seen that move in 10 different forms, on 10 different faces, with 10 different outcomes. You let them talk, let them play their little games, and you stay 5 moves ahead, spiritually and emotionally. While they're playing checkers, you're setting up checkmate with grace. Here's the real twist. When you've done the deep inner work, you develop something rare in this world, emotional intuition. This isn't just a feeling, it's a spiritual radar. Studies show that people who've endured trauma and grown through it often develop what psychologists call hypervigilance, an ability to detect threats and deception before they fully form. But for chosen ones, that becomes something greater. You don't just detect danger, you discern intent. You can read energy in a room like others read text messages. You hear what's not said, you feel what's being hidden. You decode people's spiritual signatures before they finish their first sentence. And that's why you intimidate them. Because they thought they could study you like a book, but realized you were written in a language they couldn't speak. You don't play loud, you don't play dirty, and yet you never lose. And that messes with people. Especially manipulators, narcissists, and energy leeches. They thrive on confusion and control, but you bring clarity and conviction. You shine a light where they prefer the shadows. And they don't know what to do with that. So yes, keep being sweet, keep being soft-spoken, let them assume, let them underestimate. Because the most dangerous warrior is the one who doesn't need to announce their power. You are proof that grace and grit can coexist. And every time someone tries to manipulate you and fails, you remind the world of a truth they'd rather ignore. That light, no matter how gentle, exposes all lies. That's why they gossip. That's why they scramble. Because you didn't just survive their darkness. You became the light they can't dim. Point 3, they project their own insecurities onto you. Chosen one, let's break this down with some depth, clarity, and a little fire in the soul. Have you ever noticed how the more peaceful and grounded you become, the more uncomfortable certain people get around you? How your silence suddenly feels like a threat? That's not your imagination, it's a psychological phenomenon known as projection. You're not weak, my friend, but they need you to look weak to avoid facing the reality of their own internal frailty. Let's make it plain. Projection in psychology is a defense mechanism described by Sigmund Freud. It's when someone attributes their own undesirable feelings or traits onto someone else to avoid confronting themselves. So when they say, "You're too quiet," what they're actually saying is, "I'm uncomfortable with your stillness because I haven't mastered mine." When they call you too sensitive, what they mean is, "I'm afraid of feeling my own emotions, so yours make me nervous." They don't see your peace and think, "Wow, I want to grow." They see it and think, "How dare you be so composed while I'm falling apart inside?" That's projection in motion. The chosen ones walk differently. And it's not just physical posture, it's spiritual posture. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't yell to be heard. You don't dance for attention or debate for validation. And that quiet strength confuses people who only feel powerful when they're loud, aggressive, or constantly proving something. They mistake your discipline for passivity. They mistake your emotional control for emotional weakness. Why? Because they've never met someone who doesn't fight just to win. They've only met people who fight because they're triggered. See, when you choose to walk away from drama, they label you weak. When you ignore petty arguments, they call you fake. When you stop explaining yourself, they accuse you of being distant or arrogant. But let's be real. What they're actually witnessing is something they've never mastered: restraint, patience, a non-reactive spirit. You've mastered the sacred art of choosing your battles, and that's not weakness, chosen one. That's warrior-level wisdom. It's the ability to read the room, discern the energy, and ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Because not everything deserves a response. Not every comment needs a clapback, and not every insult is an invitation to engage. Some things are simply projections, emotional boomerangs flung out by people too broken to carry their own baggage. Let me hit you with something powerful. In a world obsessed with reaction, neutrality is a superpower. Studies in emotional intelligence show that people with high EQ, emotional quotient, are often mislabeled as distant or cold by those who don't understand the strength it takes to pause before reacting. But in reality, high EQ individuals, like the chosen ones, aren't suppressing their feelings. They're channeling them through discernment. You feel deeply, but you don't perform your feelings for the crowd. And this unnerves people who live in a state of internal chaos. Your stillness is a mirror. Your strength in silence is a spotlight on their insecurity. They realize you're not performing, and that scares them because now they can't manipulate you. They can't bait you. They can't predict you. So they label you weak, soft, detached. But that's just their ego, scrambling for control. Let's go deeper. The reason they want to pull you down is because rising to your level would require inner work. And inner work is painful. It demands they let go of victimhood, confront their trauma, admit their toxicity, and learn to live without applause. Most people aren't ready for that. So instead they attack the one who has done the work, you. It's easier to accuse you of being fake than to ask themselves why your peace bothers them so much. But here's the truth. Real power doesn't announce itself. It just is. And the chosen ones, we don't flaunt it. We embody it. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Your peace, your glow, your grace under pressure, they speak for you. You're not weak for walking away. You're not naive for choosing silence. You're just wise enough to know that your energy is too expensive to spend on nonsense. So the next time someone tells you you're weak because you're calm, remember this. Only broken people confuse thunder with strength. The real storm is the one who can smile in the middle of chaos and keep it moving. That's you. You're not the noise. You're the calm after it. You're not the battle. You're the healing that follows. Stay grounded, chosen one. Let them talk. Let them project. But you? Keep mastering the art of peace. Because in a world full of chaos, you are the quiet revolution. Point 4. Your innocence disarmed them, but they didn't expect your wisdom. Chosen ones, there's a quiet kind of power that radiates from you, a force that doesn't shout, doesn't boast, but leaves ripples everywhere you go. You are that soul who enters a room with a gentle presence, yet carries the weight of ancient wisdom in your spirit. People see your soft smile, your graceful movements, and the way you're quick to listen and slow to speak. And they make the mistake of assuming you're naive, unexposed, or just too nice. But if only they knew. What looks like innocence is actually spiritual discipline. What they read as weakness is strategic restraint. You don't react because you've already done the inner work to master your emotions. You don't compete because you know what's yours will always find you. And when others underestimate you, you let them, not out of ignorance, but out of divine control. See, chosen one, what most can't comprehend is the sacred duality you walk with. You've tasted hell and still chose to carry heaven in your heart. You've sat in silence with your heartbreak and turned it into healing for others. You've cried prayers that only the universe and your soul could hear, and now you carry the vibration of someone who's been refined, not ruined. There's an old proverb that says, "The axe forgets, but the tree remembers." And you, sweet soul, you remember. You remember what it was like to be betrayed, lied to, used, and dismissed. But instead of clinging to vengeance, you alchemized the pain. You became better, not bitter. That's why your energy is so disarming. You remind people of what they've lost in themselves, their innocence, their courage, their integrity. And here's what makes you truly formidable. You see through people. Not in a judgmental way, but in a clear-eyed, spiritually mature way. You observe the games, the flattery, and the manipulation, and you smile, not because you're fooled, but because you're unbothered. You know how to play the long game. You let people reveal themselves. You let karma do her thing. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. In a world that values noise, you mastered silence. While others chase attention, you command presence. While they try to provoke reactions, you anchor in discernment. Chosen ones often look younger than their age, not just because of genetics, but because stress doesn't live where peace resides. Your glow isn't from serums, it's from survival, it's from forgiveness, it's from the divine protection you walk with. They don't realize the glow is from God, a light that cannot be dimmed by their projections or opinions. So when they gossip, let them. When they underestimate you, smile, because you already know you were never here to prove anything. You were sent here to be something. A mirror, a message, a mystery. And that's why, even in silence, you shake rooms. Point 5, they wanted to test you, but you're spiritually fireproof. Some people look at your calm presence, your youthful glow, or your gentle smile and assume you're easy to manipulate. They think, oh, this one won't fight back. They mistake humility for weakness, silence for ignorance, and kindness for naivete. But oh, how wrong they are. Chosen one, you are spiritually fireproof, not because life has been easy, but because it's been anything but. You've been through hell, but you didn't come out smelling like smoke. Why? Because what was meant to destroy you only forged you into something indestructible. People forget that resilience isn't loud. It's not the person screaming the loudest in the room or posting every trauma online for sympathy. Real resilience is quiet. It's built in private moments, the ones where you wept behind closed doors, screamed into your pillow, and still showed up the next day like nothing broke. That's not weakness, that's unshakable spiritual grit. See, in psychology, there's a phenomenon called misattribution of appearance. It means people often judge your strength, intelligence, or depth based on how you look or sound. If you speak softly, they assume you're timid. If you dress modestly, they think you're unaware. But chosen ones are masters of internal power. While the world was sizing you up externally, you were building yourself up internally. You were strengthening your discernment, sharpening your intuition, and aligning with divine timing. And let's talk about that spiritual armor. It's not something you bought. It's something you earned through heartbreaks that left you gasping for breath, through betrayals that nearly made you shut your heart for good, through seasons of lack that tested your faith in the most brutal ways. You weren't just praying out of ritual, you were praying for survival. And those prayers didn't just bounce off the ceiling, they rewired your soul. They trained you to hear divine instruction, to move without validation, and to stand alone if necessary. That's why when people try to provoke you now, you don't flinch. When they try to drag you into chaos, you don't even blink. You've outgrown the noise. You've learned how to sit with discomfort and still make wise choices. That's unsettling to people who thrive on drama, who need conflict to feel alive, and who expect you to crumble the moment things go sideways. But instead of falling apart, you stay grounded. Instead of retaliating, you respond with silence. Instead of proving your worth, you embody it. Here's the thing. Your peace triggers people who haven't found theirs yet. Your ability to remain calm under pressure exposes their need for attention. Your joy without needing a reason challenges their dependence on external validation. You walk through life with the grace of someone who's already been broken and rebuilt, and now you carry the kind of quiet authority that can't be faked. Scientific studies even show that post-traumatic growth, the ability to rise stronger after trauma, is more common in people who deeply reflect, seek spiritual meaning, and learn from adversity. That's you, chosen one. You didn't just survive, you transformed. You didn't just go through the fire, you became the fire. And that's why they can't understand you now. That's why they gossip, throw shade, and test your limits. Because when you radiate stability in a world built on instability, you become a mirror that reflects everything they're still running from. It's not personal, it's spiritual. Your energy exposes their masks. Your truth threatens their illusions. Your elevation shakes the very foundation of their comfort zones. So let them talk, let them underestimate, let them stare in confusion. Because while they're still figuring out how you survived it all, you're busy fulfilling a divine assignment. You're not here to be understood by the crowd. You're here to be protected by God, guided by truth, and lifted by grace. And every time they throw fire again, chosen one, just smile. Because now they know. You don't burn, you blaze. Point 6. Your youthful appearance is divine camouflage. Here's the divine twist, chosen ones. Your youthful appearance isn't just some happy accident or a lucky roll of the genetic dice. It's a strategic element in a greater spiritual plan. You see, God doesn't operate in randomness. Every detail of your being is intentional. That radiant glow, that smooth skin, that undeniable energy. It's not vanity, it's victory. It's divine camouflage. While the world expects power to appear worn, aged, and easily identifiable by worldly status, God wrapped your ancient, awakened soul in a vessel that defies expectations. Your appearance serves as a cloak, concealing the depth of your spiritual insight and the weight of your mission. When the enemy looks your way, they expect someone fragile, naive, or inexperienced. Instead, they find a timeless soul with wisdom that stretches beyond generations. And that throws them completely off balance. From a scientific perspective, there's growing evidence that people who live with strong spiritual alignment and emotional resilience genuinely age more gracefully. Research from Harvard Medical School and other institutions suggests that stress is a leading cause of premature aging. Yet those who meditate, pray, forgive quickly, and live with a sense of divine purpose show fewer signs of stress-related wear. Cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, literally damages cells when it floods the system chronically. But when your heart is anchored in God and your spirit is aligned with divine truth, your body doesn't stay in survival mode. That means fewer wrinkles, better sleep, a healthier immune system, and yes, an inexplicable youthful appearance. But let's go deeper. Your glow is more than just skin deep. It's your spiritual aura manifesting in physical form. When you carry peace instead of bitterness, when you smile instead of scowling, when you trust the divine instead of fearing the unknown, your body responds. Joy lights up the brain. Gratitude strengthens the heart. Forgiveness frees the nervous system. All of these practices are not just feel-good suggestions, they are biological youth preservers. A study published in the journal even found that people who practice compassion and emotional regulation have longer telomeres, the protective caps on DNA that shorten as we age. Translation: the more spiritually aligned you are, the more your body slows down the clock. But this is where it gets cosmic. People can't explain you, and that bothers them. You're glowing with no luxury spa treatments, thriving without the need for approval, and aging backward while carrying trauma they couldn't survive a day with. They whisper, speculate, and envy, but the truth remains hidden from them. It's not genetics, it's genesis, it's divine design. Your aura has been anointed to carry light, and that light reflects through your entire being. Even when you've walked through the fire, the smell of smoke doesn't cling to you. Even when you've been wounded, your scars shine like stardust. It's confusing to those who are spiritually asleep because they think glow comes from products, not presence. So don't shrink back or wonder why people are so fascinated or threatened by your presence. They're trying to decode a mystery that can't be solved by the natural mind. Your youthful glow is not an accident, it's a message. It says, I've been chosen, covered, and commissioned. The next time someone asks how you stay so young, smile and tell them it's not a secret, it's spiritual. Because, chosen one, you weren't just born with a glow, you were lit by the divine. Point 7. Your energy exposes insecurity everywhere you go. Let's take this deeper, chosen one. You see, your presence is not neutral. It's not just that you exist, it's that you radiate. Your very essence holds a vibration that cannot be faked, copied, or diluted. When you walk into a room, you don't just enter quietly. Spiritually, it's like dropping a stone into still water. The ripples are instant. People feel you before they even see you. And that's the part that confuses them. You're not loud, you're not flashy, you're not even trying. Yet you somehow shift the energy in the room just by being you. That's not charisma. That's a divine assignment. What most don't understand is that spiritual energy is palpable. According to quantum physics and energy psychology, everything is vibration. Your thoughts, your emotions, your consciousness, all of it emits frequencies. And chosen ones, yours are high frequency, pure and aligned. So when you show up, people whose internal world is built on falsehoods, ego, or buried pain, they feel exposed. Not because you called them out, but because your light highlighted the shadow they've been trying to ignore. It's almost primal. Imagine you've been living in a dimly lit cave and someone suddenly opens a window. That light, it's blinding, it's uncomfortable, it's too honest. And that's what you are to them, uncomfortable honesty. That's why they act weird around you, why some give backhanded compliments or pretend not to see your growth, why they whisper lies about you when you're not around. It's not about you, it's about what you represent. Proof that authenticity is still alive, that resilience is still real, and that purity didn't die in a world of masks. They called you too quiet, too sensitive, and too nice. But all those things were really threats to their carefully curated personas. People aren't just reacting to what you do, chosen one. They're reacting to who you are, and who you are forces them to look at who they're not. That's why they tried to play you when you looked soft, because the world teaches that softness equals weakness. But spiritual law says otherwise. You weren't created to be hard. You were created to be holy, and holiness doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to fight dirty. It just is. And when something just is, when it stands in full truth, it becomes unstoppable. Your calmness is power. Your purity is defiance. Your grace under pressure, that's spiritual warfare. And the wildest part is you didn't even try to expose them. You were just being authentic. But authenticity is disruptive in a world that profits off illusion. Your glow isn't just light, it's revelation. And revelation always triggers a response, positive or negative. Psychologically, this is called projection. When someone has unresolved guilt, envy, or shame and sees someone who doesn't mirror those traits, they often project their own discomfort onto them. That's why they say things like, "You think you're better than everyone." No, you never said that. But your elevation makes them feel lesser, and instead of healing, they attack. But here's the part that should anchor you. You weren't sent here to make people comfortable. You were sent here to awaken them. Sometimes that awakening comes gently. Other times it comes as a storm. Either way, your energy is a divine disruption. You're not here to blend in. You were chosen to stand out, to pull truth out of the shadows and remind people of their buried potential. So next time they whisper, roll their eyes, or call you too much, just smile. That's their spirit reacting to your assignment. And their resistance is proof that your light is doing exactly what it was sent to do. Illuminate, expose, awaken, stay unbothered, chosen one. You're not here to entertain egos, you're here to fulfill prophecy. Chosen ones, now that you've made it to the end, let me leave you with this. Your youthful look is not a trick of nature, it's a sign, a symbol of your timeless spirit. You are not just aging differently, you are living differently, you are being different. People may continue to misunderstand you, they may try to exploit what they think is weakness, but your spirit cannot be touched, and God will continue to use you to humble the proud, to teach the wise, and to protect the innocent. So keep glowing, keep confusing them, keep walking in your divine softness and your unshakable strength. You're not just aging in reverse, you're evolving at God's speed. And that, chosen one, is your greatest flex. Stay alert, stay sacred, and stay awake on your spiritual journey. Until next time, keep shining like the mystery you are.